Hello, everybody. I'm Aaron.
I'm Travis.
I'm Sam.
And welcome to the Tavern. So for today's episode, we are in a garage.
We're back in the original dungeon. We've played...
The first dungeon.
Right, we're not in a tavern, we're in a dungeon today.
We've been playing D&D in this garage for years now.
So we're here because we're actually going to shortly be playing Dungeons & Dragons. But our topic for today's episode is favorite NPCs. So either ones that we've created as DMs or have interacted with as players. So Travis, you start us off.
All right. This is really, really tricky because I know that one of my favorite, if not the favorite, is your favorite. And he's just very beloved. I'm going to save that for you.
Want to talk about.
I would say that the most influential one has been the oldest NPC we've been dealing with, which is Jeff the Tavern Keep.
Yeah.
Jeff the Tavern Keep is a dinosaur typically portrayed as a T-Rex, but oftentimes a velociraptor, some sort of reptilian creature.
With a paper hat.
And
he also
runs a tavern.
lives in a paper hat.
He does. He lives in a giant paper hat, and he constantly loses this paper hat. We have a guest approaching.
Hi, Brad.
Hi, Brad. So, Jeff the Dinosaur is notorious because his only line of dialogue is, nope.
That's the only thing he says, regardless of what you ask him.
So it's kind of like an I Am Groot situation where you have to determine the context of the situation.
And he was created during our first campaign that we ever played.
Our very
over
first
10
Dungeon
years
Master,
ago.
Kevin Hefner.
Yeah.
This was back in 2009.
Yeah.
When that character came into existence.
Right, because we were about a year into the campaign.
Yeah, and then when I started DMing, I asked Kevin, I was like, would you mind if I appropriated some of your locations and characters for my campaign? He's like, yeah, go for it, man. So
that's how I got introduced
Jeff lives
to all
on.
of that,
So here we are, almost 10 years later, and Jeff is still going strong. So,
the ins
Yeah.
still
All right,
kept up.
Sam next.
My turn? Okay. I mean, the one that I wanted to talk about the most was the NPC that my character that we talked about in the previous episode, Darwin, for a really long campaign, had the most interaction with, and it was called the Deva. The Deva would spontaneously appear, sort of when we needed guidance, usually when we had just fulfilled a small part of our quest, and would like show up and be like, alright guys, that's great, give me this, I'll give you this, you go. And Darwin was not a very friendly character, but sort of got this like back and forth with the Deva, and the Deva would always wink at her. And at the time, I was dating one of my fellow players, and he got very jealous of this NPC, and I find that to be hilarious.
I didn't find that out until years later, and that to me is like one of the funniest things.
It's literally a fictional character.
It's a little bit silly when, like, after you're having this grand time with your friends, and your boyfriend pulls you aside and is like, is there something going on? And I'm like, it's an NPC!
Okay, and it was also difficult because it's like at the time, we had one female player. And it just it happens. I apologize.
It's okay. I was a female player and playing a female, and that's a thing that happens. I don't know.
Times change.
I love when I watch like D&D streams and like two players have their characters like flirt with each other and things happen like that. I don't know. It's just fun for me. It's character building.
Yeah.
It's role playing.
Yeah. Just the point. But, yeah.
Acting!
Anyway.
Who's yours?
So, I guess for me, I'll talk about when I first moved to Monterey and I created a group of people that had never played before, and I was going to be the DM in my dorm room at the time. And everybody was really bad. They didn't know what they were doing. I mean, that's an understatement. They were bad at playing. But I created a cleric that was going to follow them along because they kept dying in battle. Like, I had a player dead on the first session in the first combat. I was like, oh, okay.
God.
Maybe they need some help. None of them had healing. No one knew how to use their character, so I created Peter, the human cleric. And his sole purpose was to help them, to follow them around and heal them when needed. And everybody treated him like shit.
He was the Jerry of the group.
Yeah! For no reason. I was like, I created this guy to make sure you don't die. And
Looks
so
like you broke your leg. Let me help you with that. Damn it, Jerry!
But as a DM, I was able to use my frustration with them through the characters' dialogue. And they were fighting their the Illithids, Mind Flayers. This was much later on.
Yeah,
gosh.
And they were all dying, and they're all screaming to Peter to help, and he just turns and leaves the cavern.
Peter is my
no.
favorite.
I was like, no. Like, I am not going to facilitate, like,
Yeah.
saving you after you treated this guy like shit.
Leave
Honestly,
them to
yeah,
Mind
that's-
Flayers.
So he leaves, and of course they blame me, but I was like, hey, in-game, why would that character help you? You know? Like, there is a cause and effect, which is kind of what I was trying to show the players, that,
Yeah.
like, your interactions do matter with these characters.
Absolutely.
So. And then, I guess, just as a quick second, is using Arvis, you know, a character that I played at, but using him when I'm DMing as an NPC later in his life is fun, you know, to add on to the story.
It's always fun when you can do that. You've
Yeah.
developed a character enough as a player that you can bring him in if you're DMing later on. Him or her.
Right, yeah. And use them in a whole different light.
NPCs are a lot of fun.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
pretty much.
It's kind of weird how, like, as a dungeon master, you're telling the story and your players are playing it out, but a lot of times it's NPCs just kind of stick with you and they really make for some fun stories.
Yeah.
I see a lot of like Dungeons and Dragons memes of like a crowd of people around like some plain person. It's like all your players around some random NPC, and then there's like the actual like quest giver in the background.
Right.
Like, yeah, pretty much. We get really invested in the people that we meet sometimes.
Like,
Yeah.
Okay, so an interesting fun one, if we have a little bit of time here, is the how much time we got?
Do we?
Oh yeah, we got 4 minutes. Go for it.
Nice. So, one of the last campaigns that I tried to do in Monterey, do you remember the dwarf character?
Yeah.
The Deva's drunk dwarf boyfriend? Just
Yeah.
really random. Met this dude in a feasting hall when they were preparing for a tournament. And it was one of those situations where it's like it was literally just supposed to be an exchange of dialogue, but they
He
ended
comes
up
back.
they ended up forging this like really weird semi-romantic bond. And like during the tournament when this Deva is like fighting these creatures, he throws a mithril rose to her from the stands, and it was just like this moment. And as they go off on their quest, like just kept asking like, whatever happened to my dwarf boyfriend? And I don't think that we're ever going to forget that character, as brief as that
Right.
period of time was.
Because
that he
it was
existed.
supposed to just be a total in-passing thing, and then he ends up getting a life of his own, and it's like, where is that guy?
Yeah.
You know?
I hope he's happy.
I wish him well.
Yeah. He's actually dead. Alcohol poisoning.
Well,
On that note,
On that note.
on that note, the true end to many a character.
Yeah.
That's what happens to...
alcohol and D&D can
Well,
cause
just
some silly things.
that's what
and
happens
some death.
to every character when we stop playing prematurely, because we leave them alone with no purpose.
You imagine them all at the
Just
tavern,
standing
like,
Uh,
welcome to the tavern.
oh no! Oh man!
I think all the characters you've killed.
Let us not dwell on this.
Moving on.
So I guess let us know in the comments below.
Yeah.
Hello, Nick.
Hello.
Let us know in the
Hello.
comments below
Our
any
players are
NPCs
showing
that
up.
you've had.
Yeah. NPC interactions. Comment your favorite interactions, or I don't know.
Yeah.
Also, let us know if there's any topic that you would like us to talk about in a future episode. We created
Please.
a list, but we are definitely open to suggestions. So before these guys mess with our camera, we're gonna say goodbye.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.